Hey lovely audience, I hashtag woke up like this, and as you can obviously guess, that is a lie. Social media is usually a lie. We're going to talk about how social media influences how we view transition. Okay, we gotta change the scene real quick. Bear with me. All right. Okay. Yep, nearly there. Yeah, there we are. Cool. Oh, probably one of the strangest ways social media interacts with transition in general is, well, we don't really record the middle stage of transition, right? You'll notice that if you look at all the trans content creators you've ever seen, most don't really make videos when they're in the middle of transition, right? Most trans content creators are like towards the latter stages of transition. That's because social media can be a bit mean, you know? So to avoid scrutiny, we tend to wait until we've transitioned more before sharing our experiences. That's just kind of how this kind of thing goes. A big example of how social media can affect how we view transition can be seen with what happened with PhilosophyTube a few years ago now. So with her content, she was still presenting masc before coming out as transgender, right? Now to the eyes of the audience watching her videos, she kind of just suddenly became fully transitioned or whatever, right? It was just kind of like that you blinked one day and then bam, girl. The thing worth understanding is she did this move in a very calculated manner, had videos prepared in advance, that kind of thing, to kind of give her some breathing room to transition in peace. Now, it's pretty bad that social media requires you to have to do that kind of thing, but I think pretty much anyone would have done that in her shoes, so fair enough. Look, I'm sure her transition has gotten more scrutiny than mine has ever received. Honestly, I feel like the closest we've had to a really big trans content creator that has highlighted the middle stage of transition is kind of Finster. Really, that's the main example I can think of, just because of her early streams that highlighted them presenting femme in an early manner, like trying wigs for the first time, trying makeup for the first time, that kind of thing. I think that's the closest in our mainstream example that I feel like we've seen. I will highlight a lot of old trans YouTube that I watched when I was little was more so people documenting their transition for each step. And I think that kind of content still exists. However, as you might have noticed, I think that kind of trans content has become less popular. I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know if videos like these or videos other creators made have become more favorable or whatever. Maybe it's not as catchy, like HRT 9 months in, HRT 10 months in. Maybe it doesn't hit the same, but those videos are really important to highlight that transition is a series of little moments that all culminate into the final product. Look, when you start making a Lego set, that Lego set's not gonna look really good until it's done, right? The middle stage is just gonna be these bunch of random walls on this side, maybe a gate placed awkwardly in the front, and you're like, what is this even meant to be? Then it becomes a castle later, right? Transitions like that, it's those small building blocks that go on top of each other and then culminate into an amazing castle. Now you might be like, oh, but random YouTuber, you didn't record transition videos early into your transition. That's fair. I wasn't a YouTuber yet, at least not doing trans stuff, right? But because you telepathically asked, here's some footage of my earlier attempts of YouTube where I was still presenting kind of in that middle stage. That's what that kind of looked like. This is my third try doing YouTube. You know, nothing works the first time. So why do people obscure that middle stage of transition or even the start of transition? Well, people like clicking on videos where people look like literal supermodels. In the least self-absorbed way possible, I understand that I look pretty. And that prettiness is actually probably a large reason I am popular on the internet. And that's kind of reality, I guess. It can feel like at times that social media itself has enforced a expectation of femininity or masculinity that trans people have to abide by to be allowed to be their gender. As a result, this can skew how we view our own self-image. Just remember, not every trans femme dresses like a hyper femme girl and not every trans guy dresses like a macho muscle man. It's varied, it's a beautiful thing. We don't really want to transition from one box to another box, you know what I mean? Do what you want. But increasingly, social media creates a box of what a trans person has to be. You don't have to be a short, white twink to be allowed to transition. This kind of beauty standard is inherently very toxic. I'll put it out there that I am taller than a lot of cis women around me, but in videos, you probably wouldn't know that. Now, that is pretty short in the grand scheme of things, but compared to a lot of cis women, I might be on the taller side, and that's fine. Transition should be about the actual joy we feel when we wear clothes that feel good, right? Yeah, I acknowledge I probably look better in different outfits than this one, but I feel happy in this one. I like this funny little hat. Is it trendy? Not really. I just like it. If we enforce this super specific image, we don't get anywhere. We didn't really solve trans rights, have we? Is it truly trans acceptance if we are only accepted if we look and blend in with the idealized image of cis women? A standard that not even cis women can reach. This probably won't be a surprise to learn, but the internet is not real life. The internet's just a place we go to show videos or photos of real life. We have the ability to pick and choose what narratives and stories we tell. If I were to tell you that yesterday I went down the road, bought a nice burger, went to the park, ate that burger, enjoyed it, went on a swing, and then walked home really happily being myself, and people said hello to me cheerfully as I walked past them, would that make good content? Maybe. However, that wouldn't get as much clicks as me saying on the way to the burger shop, I got attacked by transphobes, right? That's more clickable. Now, that's not to undermine that horrible things do happen in the world. However, countless good things happen at the same time. There is a balance. And when we are online so much, we only see the negatives. We only really see the story of when someone went outside, horrible things happened due to them being transgender. However, we also don't see how often the trans people just kind of go outside, have a nice time, and then head home. Like, to put it bluntly, we're not really the main characters of real life, right? Most cis people are pretty indifferent or don't really care about trans people in a good way. They're not bothered by us. We just exist. Yeah, if we get clocked or whatever, it usually doesn't mean anything. Most cis people are more worried about the groceries they're gonna buy or maybe like some stresses in their life. There's probably plenty of people that when you walk past them, they're worried you'll notice something about them, while you are worried if they will notice you being trans. We all have stuff to worry about. We also have stuff to be happy about too. So yeah, just keep in mind that I know we're kind of the political scapegoat a lot of the time, which just means we get blamed for everything. But realistically, we don't really come up in real life very much now, do we? We're all experiencing our own little side story, our little B plot. And I think little B plots are sometimes more joyful and more happy anyway. Needless to say, YouTubers, streamers, that kind of thing can get some main character syndrome. I'm not exempt of that flaw. I think I've gotten better with it over the years, but I think when I got that initial influx of viewership, I was like, oh God, wow, I'm important. In a really specific micro niche sense, I probably make some trans people feel more confident in their identity. So that's important. However, just bear in mind that we can all do that. We can all do things that make trans people feel more welcome in the world in those little ways. So there are people doing far more for the trans community than me. So, you know, it's best to have some degree of being grounded so that I don't become like a Mr. Beast sellout. That'd be bad. Now, after talking about main character syndrome, I'm about to talk about my own experience. Oof. That's just video essay structure, I'm afraid. But anyway, I have gotten a fair amount of hate comments over the years, and I'll be transparent, break the illusion that yeah, plenty of them do upset me. I've had a couple of times where I was really, really upset actually. Being quite upset, sad. And it was hard for me, you know? I think anyone experiencing negative feedback, it's a hard thing to take on, you know? Sometimes there's constructive things people say, and like I try to take those on board, but there's also like stuff people just keep saying. I don't know why my teeth specifically seem to bother a lot of people. It's a bit random. I know like initially when like I had that initial spike of viewership a few years ago, I wasn't really ready to be like a front-facing content creator, so to speak. So like when people were saying like, you know, the stereotypical transphobia talking points, it was pretty scary actually. It made me really worried. Then like over the years, you kind of realize people just say stuff no matter what you do. So I hope that advice can carry on for anyone else, but you don't really get exempt from that kind of commentary from other people just by looking like a supermodel or whatever. That's not really how this works. People just kind of say that anyway. Also, a lot of hate stuff is usually bots anyway that are kind of programmed to say the same mean things to the same group of people. So if you take anything from this, just bear in mind that the internet isn't real life. Just bear in mind, when I started transition, my voice was really different. I looked pretty different, but I didn't really make videos back then, at least in this capacity. So as a result, there's a skewed look. Maybe people assume. Though when I started transition, I immediately looked and sounded like this. Not really the case. I do acknowledge that early transition me doesn't look that different from current me. So I am lucky in that respect, and I try to make sure I don't take that privilege for granted. However, just keep in mind that like transition is an ongoing process, and we need to give ourselves grace that we don't look like supermodels the second we start. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the funny like button, the subscribe button, and comment something really friendly in the comments. Really friendly, please. I post a video every week at this time on the screen. Wow! I hope you look forward to future videos. Until then, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. I'll see you next week. See the pause there is because I forgot my catchphrase. The video finished. I'll see you next week.